Welcome to a world where the extraordinary meets the everyday, where the skies are filled with gods, heroes, and creatures that defy the limits of imagination. This is the world of mythology and folklore. Timeless stories passed down through generations, rich with meaning and mystery, from the ancient gods of Greek mythology to the enchanting folk tales of distant lands. These stories were crafted to explain the world around us. They tackle the big questions, where we came from, why things happen, and what happens after we're gone. But they also speak to the heart of what it means to be human, with all our dreams, fears, and ambitions. In today's journey, we'll explore the tales that shaped civilizations and still resonate with us today. These are more than just stories. They are the echoes of our ancestors, the wisdom of the past, and the imagination that continues to drive us forward. So sit back as we uncover the myths and folklore that have endured the test of time. The gods are waiting. The stories are ready. Let's begin.
The tragic flight of Icarus. Imagine a world where humans could fly. A world where the sky wasn't just a limit, but an invitation to reach beyond. A place where wings were not only made of feathers and wax, of hope and ambition, lifting those who dared to dream into the vast, unknown sky. In this world, the horizon becomes a beckoning call, pushing the limits of what's possible. But as with any dream that soars too high, there is always a risk, a cost. And in this world, the pursuit of freedom and greatness would come at a tragic price. This is the story of Icarus and Daedalus, a father and son whose tale is filled with moments of wonder, ambition, and ultimately a devastating tragedy. It is a story that speaks not just to the heart, but also to the lessons we all must learn about ambition, caution, and the perils of ignoring boundaries. Our story begins on the island of Crete, ruled by the powerful King Minos. Crete, at the height of its power, was a place where grandeur and mystery intertwined, with palaces and secrets that lay hidden beneath its walls. But not all was peaceful on this island. For in the court of King Minos, there lived a man named Daedalus, a genius inventor and craftsman. His mind was unmatched, and his creations were marvels of ingenuity and brilliance. Yet, his greatest invention would also become his prison. Daedalus had designed the Labyrinth, a vast, complicated maze so intricate and confounding that no one, not even the most skilled of men, could escape it. The Labyrinth was created to imprison the Minotaur, a terrifying creature born of the union between Minos's wife, Pasiphae, and a sacred bull. The Minotaur had been the result of a curse, and the Labyrinth was meant to keep it from escaping, a terrible monster confined beneath the earth. But the Labyrinth's secrets were too valuable, and King Minos, fearing Daedalus's knowledge, decided to keep him imprisoned. Daedalus, along with his young son Icarus, was locked away on Crete. The walls of their confinement were not made of stone, but of a far more insidious prison, the very genius of Daedalus, which King Minos feared and sought to control. Yet Daedalus was a man of solutions. Even within the confines of the prison, his mind never stopped working. He would not remain a captive to the king's cruelty forever. Daedalus began to dream of escape, not through brute force, but through an invention that would break the chains of captivity: wings. Using the materials that were available to him, Daedalus began his task. He gathered feathers from birds, their light and graceful forms a perfect symbol of the freedom he sought. He harvested wax from the honeycombs, which would serve as the adhesive to bind the feathers together. In his hands, these simple materials would become instruments of liberation. For days, Daedalus worked tirelessly. With precision and care, he crafted 2 sets of wings, one for himself and one for his son Icarus. Each wing was an intricate masterpiece, designed with the hope that they would carry the father and son away from Crete and into freedom. When the wings were finally complete, Daedalus turned to Icarus. His face, usually so full of youthful enthusiasm, now bore the gravity of a father's concern. "My son," he said, "do not fly too high, for the sun will melt the wax. And do not fly too low, for the sea's damp air will weigh you down. Find the balance, my son. Follow me, and together we will escape." These words, spoken with a deep tenderness, were the culmination of a father's hope and fear, a warning given with love, but also with a recognition of the dangerous temptation that would accompany the act of flight. To soar into the sky was a dream, but to go too far could mean their downfall. The moment of flight came like a miracle. Daedalus and Icarus stood at the edge of their prison, their wings now fully prepared for the journey ahead. With a leap of faith, they took to the air. For the first time, The sky was not a symbol of imprisonment, but a vast expanse of freedom stretching out before them. As Daedalus and Icarus soared above the island of Crete, the world below seemed to shrink. The ocean stretched out like an endless blue canvas, and the land below was a patchwork of greens and browns. The wind carried them higher, lifting them into the sky with the gentle rhythm of their wings. For Icarus, the experience was nothing short of exhilarating. He had never known freedom like this before. His heart raced with excitement as he flew higher, away from the prison that had once held him. The world seemed open and full of endless possibilities. But as they climbed higher into the sky, something changed in Icarus. The thrill of flight overtook him. The warnings of his father, spoken so carefully and so kindly, faded into the background of his mind. The higher he soared, the more he felt like he could conquer the world. The sun beckoned to him, its radiant glow pulling him upward. It became a symbol of power and light, and Icarus, lost in the wonder of his own abilities, flew toward it. Icarus's ambition, however, would be his undoing. As he flew higher, the heat of the sun began to melt the wax holding his wings together. Slowly at first, then faster, the feathers began to fall away, drifting like snowflakes in the wind. Icarus's wings were no longer whole. The balance he had once been warned to maintain was now lost. His joy turned to terror as he felt himself losing control. The wax had melted too far, and the wings, once a symbol of his freedom, were now nothing but broken fragments. Icarus tried to regain control, but it was too late. He tumbled from the sky, his body twisting and spinning as he fell toward the ocean below. The wind that had once carried him upward now pushed him downward. The sea, once a distant, serene expanse, was now the harbinger of his demise. His wings were destroyed, leaving only the echoes of his reckless ambition. With a final tragic splash, Icarus plunged into the sea. His body disappeared beneath the waves, and his story was forever marked by the painful consequences of hubris. The myth of Icarus is one of the oldest and most enduring in Western literature. It is a tale that speaks to the dangers of unchecked ambition and the fragile balance between freedom and responsibility. Icarus's flight represents humanity's desire to break boundaries, to transcend the limits of the world we know and soar toward the impossible. Yet his fall serves as a stark warning. The pursuit of greatness can come with devastating consequences. In many ways, Icarus is both a hero and a cautionary figure. His flight embodies the aspiration to reach higher, to dream bigger. But his tragic fall reminds us that ambition, when not tempered by wisdom, can lead to destruction. It is a timeless tale of the dangers of hubris, the overestimation of one's abilities, and the underestimation of the forces at work around us. Icarus's story also speaks to the importance of balance. His father's warning to find the balance is not just a piece of advice for the mythic past, but a lesson that still holds relevance today. We are all Icarus in some way, striving for something greater, something more. But just as in the myth, we must be mindful of the cost of our ambitions and the risks that come with reaching too high too quickly. As we look back on the story of Icarus, we are reminded of the balance between freedom and responsibility. Icarus dared to dream, but his dream ultimately led to his downfall. He soared toward the heavens, seeking greatness, but in doing so, he ignored the very lessons that might have saved him. What can we learn from his flight? Are we too eager to soar without understanding the risks? Do we ignore the warnings that tell us to proceed with caution? Or do we know when to embrace the wisdom of balance and restraint? Icarus's flight teaches us that while we should never stop dreaming, we must also respect the limits of our ambitions. We must understand that with every dream, there is a responsibility to recognize the dangers and to make choices that will protect us, not just from failure, but from destruction. As we move forward in our own lives, may we remember the lessons of Icarus, to dream boldly, but to also understand the power of balance, caution, and self-awareness. For it is in finding this balance that we can truly soar.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world of myths and folklore. We've explored timeless stories that have shaped cultures and continue to inspire us today. As we close, remember that these ancient tales are not just about gods and heroes. They're about us. They remind us of our ambitions, our struggles, and our hopes. And perhaps they carry lessons that we can apply in our own lives. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating stories from the world of mythology, history, and beyond. What lesson from today's story stood out to you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep learning, and keep exploring the world of legends.